So there has been like a massive flipping thing that's happened overnight, and it happened a little bit after I ended my stream yesterday, I guess, is that Twitch announced layoffs for 500 staff, representing 35% of the company. So basically, like, almost like, this is pretty close to a Thanos snap. Just completely gone off of the company. And so, yeah, lay off the staff. Yeah, I wonder what that's going to be, right? Now, I'll go ahead and I'll look and see what they have to say. And, well, actually, Twitch made an update about it. Dan Clancy in a blog confirms the layoff of 500 people. Those impacted are finding out this morning. And so they didn't even know about this at all. And so, let's see here. This is, I guess, what he sent in a blog. I guess I'll read what he said. Today I have some incredibly difficult news to share. As you all know, we've worked hard over the last year to run our business as sustainably as possible. Unfortunately, we still have to work we still have work to do. Oh, just confusing. Work to do to right size our company, and I regret. I love that right size instead of downsize. That's clever. Our company, and regret having to start. They share that we're taking the painful step to reduce our headcount by just over 500 people across Twitch. Now, this will be a very hard day. Our service exists to empower communities together, create, all that. Yeah, sure. And every single one of you has been, Jesus, I don't know why I can't. There are some people that, like, I can't read the way they write because it doesn't read the same way that it would in my mind. Apologize. Like, I'm thinking, I think it's going to say one thing and it's something else. Yeah, I can't read it because it just doesn't follow the same, like, thinking patterns that I write with or think with. Our service exists to empower communities to create together, and every single one of you has played that vital role in fostering our community and furthering that mission. And yep, that's sad. Losing a lot of people. And this is also like a follow-up on this. People don't realize how bad the financial situation is at Twitch, and Amazon demands that they remedy it. I made some predictions last week. I take no pride in being the first one who was right. And so let's go take a look at this. Twitch ad struggles. I would say this is definitely a big problem. Twitch austerity. There's an urgency for Twitch to find out its financial situation. As part of the hunt for profitability, I'm expecting more cuts to Twitch's business. Sadly, that could come in the form of another round of layoffs in the first half year. They'll likely continue to hold off on hiring and allow attrition to help reduce the headcount further. So basically, a ton of people got let go from Twitch. This obviously really sucks for all the people that lost their jobs. But I mean, this is the way a lot of companies do. I mean, I feel like a lot of companies have massively overhired or massively did overhire during COVID. And now that they're not dealing with like the same influx of growth, they realize that having 1,500 people working at a company that just streams video games and streams live streaming bullshit, that's not really as necessary. 500 is a ton. Yeah, tech is replacing a lot of the jobs too. You're right. Because look at Twitter, for example. Twitter, didn't Elon Musk fire 80% of people at Twitter? The website's still running just fine. It's totally fine. There's not any problems with the website at all. Because like that to me is like, that's the real judge. Is the website still running even after you get rid of all of these people? Well, it still is. Maybe you didn't need them, right? And that was a different case. The website is not fine. Well, I think it is. I'm sure there are things that Twitter does wrong. And also, remember Meta, and this is a big thing. A lot of people might not remember this. This was last year. Meta laid off, and this is like Facebook, right? Facebook, Instagram, etc. Laid off 11,000 employees. And this, by the way, was 13% of their staff. So a smaller percentage than Twitch did. But I think this was one round of layoffs and not just the only layoffs. This might be a hot take, but I never blame a company for going linear, especially when we haven't heard terrible working conditions as a result. Laying off 500 probably saves them $25 million a year. Well, of course they're going to get rid of people who they feel like they're not making money off of them, right? It's a pretty simple decision. It's like, do we need this person to run the business? If the answer is no, then you get rid of them. And you also look, yeah, and this is another thing that I was going to show too. Apparently also Amazon is removing people too. Amazon is laying off several hundred across Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios. 700 people. Additionally, 500 employees, or 35% of the workforce, are being let go at Amazon live stream on Twitch. Yeah, there it is. It's an incredibly difficult decision to make, and not one that my leadership and I don't take lightly. It's hard to say goodbye to so many talented Amazonians who have made meaningful contributions on behalf of our customers. And yeah, obviously that really sucks. And this is Dan Clancy talking about it here. I know many of you are wondering why this is happening. Over the last year, we've been working to build a more sustainable business so that Twitch will be here for the long run. And throughout the year, we've cut costs and made many decisions to be more efficient. Unfortunately, despite these efforts, it's become clear that our organization is still meaningfully larger than it needs to be, given the size of business. Last year, we paid out over $1 billion to streamers. So while the Twitch business remains strong, for some time now, the organization has been sized upon where we optimistically expect our business to be in 3 or so more years, not where it's at today. As with many other companies in the tech space, we're now sizing our organization based on the current scale of business and conservative predictions on how we expect to grow in the future. So I think this is an incredibly reasonable thing to do. I think this is very smart, because really tech companies they've always been building for the future, and the future is always higher than the past. And this is just what's happened with all of these tech companies. That's why there's so much venture capital that's for tech and for AI and stuff like that, because these tech companies can just continuously build and making more and more money. And guess what happens? Well, people's investment money goes up, right? Obviously. But eventually that stops. Eventually that always stops. And you can look at what happened with Twitch, right? Let's look at it ourselves. And this is going to give us some insight into obviously this is third party. It's not perfect, but we're just going to go ahead and look at it anyway. And so if we look at the amount of people that are on Twitch, from 2013 here all the way up to 2021, look. If you take this graph and you draw a line, that line is like this. And it has gone up pretty much every single quarter almost. Not every single one. You can see, obviously, there's some dips and everything. But for the most part, the company has grown rapidly. And then guess what happens? Well, after COVID... And look, Twitch is doing amazing. Twitch is doing great. But it's not growing at this 20% growth curve that it was at all of this time. You see what I'm saying? And it's not really even stagnating. Yeah, I would say that it's maturing. It's reached a degree of market saturation that a lot of the people that would go to Twitch already are here. It's the same thing with Facebook, is that Facebook... there's every 1 in 7 people in the world has Facebook. Well, eventually you run out of people that exist in the world to advertise to. Twitch has been in decline for years now. I would argue that I don't think that's really true. I actually don't think that Twitch has been in decline or anything like that. Yeah, I don't think Twitch is doing amazing, but it's not in decline at all. It's retained a lot of its business from COVID. Yes, it's gone down, but, bearing in mind, the astronomical effect that, COVID had, I feel like Twitch hasn't really lost that many people, comparatively. And also, look at this one right here. The most recent one is higher than it's been almost for a whole year. When you take into account how many big streamers have also left, well, to be fair, a lot of big streamers haven't really left. They're just going to another website and streaming on Twitch as well. XQC didn't really leave Twitch. The only person who's really not on Twitch anymore, I would say, well, there's CatDany, and there's Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross isn't on Twitch anymore at all. CatDany isn't on Twitch anymore at all. Ludwig said that he would do events on Twitch recently. Dr. Disrespect. Yeah, but the doc thing happened all the way back here, right? So I don't think Dr. Disrespect really had much of a decision. Nick Merckx. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right. Doc's been gone for years. Yeah. Did Nick Merckx completely leave Twitch? Did he? He did. Okay, well, good for him. Hopefully they paid him a lot of money. And, Tim the Tatman, would you say Kai brought Twitch to a much bigger market? I think that Kai definitely did. I mean, it's not even a question. Like, Kai, Your Age, Aiden Ross, there's like one person, Bruce, like all of the W streamers, like, those guys, like, they brought in an audience of people who weren't native Twitch viewers. Because, like, you know, these guys don't even know what Twitch is. They're just watching Aiden Ross, or they're watching Kai, or something like that. So, you know, Bruce, I mean, you can not like Bruce all you want, but, like, the fact is, like, Bruce had a big community, right? I'm not usually really looking a whole lot recently. I'm not sure how his streams are doing now. But, like, he had a very big community, and he brought a lot of people onto the website. And he brought them from places that weren't already there. What's the W community, bro? It's just, like, basically a lot of, like, I feel like it's just basically younger guys. Like, because people are like, oh, it's black people, right? I don't think it's really that simple. To be totally honest with you guys, I really don't think it's that simple. I think it's that the majority of content creators on Twitch make content for people that are 28 plus. I think that Twitch in general has aged up a lot, and there aren't really that many streamers, or before Aiden Ross, let's say, there weren't really a lot of streamers that were making content for 17-year-olds. And I'm not shitting on that at all, because Aiden Ross was 21. He's 20. Like, of course he's going to make content for 17-year-olds. He used to be 17 like a few years ago. So of course it makes sense. So, yeah. And so now that, like, obviously, like, you know, you have new guys that are making content for younger audiences, you're going to bring in that younger audience, and that younger audience is new. And so that's different. I'm probably on the younger side of your audience. I'm 24. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying that there aren't. There's people of all ages around. But just in a general sense, I think that Twitch hasn't really been hurt that much from COVID recession. I actually don't think so at all. But the truth is that a lot of other companies have, like Meta, that I just showed you guys. And that's normal. Also, what did those 500 staff do? Because whenever you're looking at 500 staff, like, so basically, and this is, like, not 100% accurate, but I'm just going to kind of go ahead and do it anyway. And so, whenever you do product development, right? Whatever product development is for your company. If product development is, guys, it's not the Illuminati. If product development is coding, engineering, if product development is, you know, like running a website or anything like that, but you have a lot of people that are underneath that, like HR. You have people that are like management. And all of these other people exist in order to support this top pyramid. So whenever they're losing 500 people, they're not losing 500 people that are engineers. They're not losing 500 people that are content creator, you know, relationships experts, right? Or anything like that. They are losing a lot of those people. They're probably losing 200 to 300 of those people. And then they're also losing 200 to 300 other people that support those people, or that work in tandem with those people, whose job is attached to this other person's job. And without one, you don't necessarily need the other. It's like what they were, put it be blunt, they were expendable. Well, they weren't expendable. It's just that their jobs existed to empower these people to do their jobs in the best way. So, like, think of it as a dungeon group. Okay, yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so basically, let's say you have a 20-man raid, okay? You have a 20-man raid, and you have 4 healers for the 20-man raid, right? Well, let's say you need to drop 5 DPS. If you drop 5 DPS, do you really still need 4 healers? Probably not. So you probably drop 1 or 2 healers as well. And that's what's happening. There's a lot of healers, a lot of support roles. And there it is. Might be interested in this, English Voice Actor Union. Yeah, I saw that. I'd have to, like, I haven't talked about that yet because I don't really know a lot about it. I think you're arguing here from ignorance. Lots of talented engineers being laid off. Well, of course there are talented engineers being laid off. Absolutely they are. 100%. But what I'm saying is that it's not 500 talented engineers. It's probably 200 to 300 talented engineers, and then 200 to 300 also talented HR management people. 200 to 300 maybe janitorial people. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you're totally fucking right. Necessarily anymore, talented engineers will find a new job. Don't worry. Well, I hope so. Some are not talented. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure some of them are bad at their job. I mean, just the same as any other job, right? Flesh out the example, going from a 40-man raid to a 20-man raid, you have to not just cut the DPS, but also tanks and healers too. And then also maybe the officer who scheduled all 4. Bro, this is we're going even farther with the WoW reference. This is so fucking true. To flesh out the example, we're going from a 40-man raid to a 20-man raid, and you have to cut not just the DPS, but the tanks and the healers too. And maybe even the officer who scheduled all 40 people isn't needed either. There it is. And that's what happens with things like this. People focus on just the devs and engineers without considering the rest of the personnel needed to run everything else in the company. Yeah, absolutely. If they had talent, why couldn't Dan find a use for them in their business model? It depends on what their goals are. So, like, maybe their goal isn't to... Like, let's say there was somebody who is extremely talented at making a UI, but they feel like they don't need another UI designer because they already have 7 of them. And also, like, you can't just continuously build for growth. If you expect to grow 20% every year, eventually one year you won't grow 20%, but you're still hiring as if you will. So I think that's the big difference here. You only have room for so many cooks in a kitchen. Yeah, exactly. Twitch isn't profitable? Done? No, it's hard to say. But yeah, it looks like Amazon is also removing people from Amazon Prime and Prime Video, which makes sense. I mean, let's be honest. Well, I mean, The Boys is Amazon Prime, right? Is that Prime? I don't remember exactly. Yeah, people love that show. That show's really popular. But also it has Rings of Power. And didn't they invest like $1 billion into Rings of Power? Yeah, they invested a tremendous amount of money into it. And guess what happened? Well, everybody hated the show. So that's what happens, is that... And Wheel of Time? Yeah, people didn't like Wheel of Time either, as far as I know. So that's what happens, is that... If you make shows, and this is the problem, is that if you're making shows, and this isn't like a get woke, go broke thing, but you need to make shows. It's the same as like Halo. I think Halo is the perfect example of this. Halo in no way, at least as far as I see, right? It's not marketed this way at all, is not a woke show. But it's not for Halo fans. Because if it was, everybody would be watching it. The same as with the Sonic movies. The Sonic movies were made for Sonic fans, and guess what? They all watched the fucking movie. So yeah, it was awful. Yeah, but there it is. Sonic movies are great. Yeah, Sonic is actually doing well. Yeah, and big surprise. It's because they made it for the audience of people. We have time at 78% score on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's not really hated. I remember whenever it got announced, people were like kind of negative about it, but definitely not as much as Rings of Power. You're right about that. And anyway, so yeah, I think this makes sense because, you know, you make content for people that aren't your audience, and then guess what? Those people aren't there. I'll go ahead and look at the rest of these. And also, here's another huge factor, and I don't know how much of this was incorporated into the 500 people that are being let go from Twitch. But Twitch just shut down Twitch Korea. So like that huge audience is just gone. Now, there are still going to be some streamers that are from Korea that stream on Twitch, but it's not going to be officially supported. Oh, yeah, exactly, right? So these things happen, and there's a consequence for these things. Like, there's people who are supposed to, like, for example, accounting. Let's say for every 10 partners, you need one accounting person or one person working in financial services. Well, let's say you lose 1,000 partners. Well, do you need to get rid of 100 people? Maybe. Right size, fuck that word. Oh no, I think that's a good decision. I feel like the only problem that people have, with jobs nowadays is the fact that they need to work at a job to make money. I think that a company should try to exist in a lean and productive state. And the reason why people are angry at jobs or companies for letting people go, and healthcare, what? No. Go ahead and let me explain this, right? The reason why people are angry about it is because of the money. It's obviously the money. Because a lot of you guys, how many of you guys, you don't buy a really big car because the gas mileage for the really big car is too much? Oh, I'd buy an Escalade, they're really cool, but they only get 7 miles to the gallon. Of course. But like if you had 6 kids, you might be buying one of those big cars. But if you don't have 6 kids, you're not going to buy an expensive car. Or a big car, a big car. So everybody practices downsizing in their own life all the time. And I think that companies should do it too. It's always sad whenever people lose their jobs, but just because people lose their jobs, that's not a very good argument in my mind to say that companies shouldn't be able to hire and remove people as they see fit. It hasn't changed in years. I feel like I live in a completely different income bracket. Yeah, because you do. That's it. Lean and productive doesn't mean you work with Jack Welch style of management, which has taken over NBA education. It demands constant upwards profitability, even after the destruction of the company. I actually disagree with you, Ragnarok, that it's because of management. I think the reason why upwards profitability is... So there's 2 reasons why upwards profitability is popular. Number 1, the executives are not playing the game of making a good company. They are playing the game of making good quarterly earnings reports. And because of that, that's why you have displacements of accounting. That's why you have like all these accounting tricks that they use, right? Of like, oh, we're going to carry this loss over to this other point in time. The reason why all of those things exist is to project a positive outward image of the company to investors. So all of these things exist because of the way that companies are rewarded and structured. So if you compare this to, let's say, Japan, that has a much more longitudinal, long-term approach to developing a company like Nintendo, for example, you'd see a completely different set of priorities. And the reason why is that they have long-term accountability, whereas we don't have that, or at least not in the same way. And so I think that also there's the other just truth of life that people are greedy, and greed begets more greed. And once people get to a $10 million company, they want to make it a $20 million company. And I think this is especially true in my opinion, one of the most status-conscious cultures in the world, which is the U.S. So, of course, yeah. So I think this is driven primarily by the, fiduciary responsibility that executives have to shareholders because it's a publicly traded company. I think it plays into the human nature of greed. It's part of our culture fundamentally. And also, I mean, it's not a bad thing to want to grow your business either. This isn't all bad things. It's all 100% good. Yeah, this is just it. Capitalism has gone too far. I don't really think that's the case. I think that there are instances of that being the case, sure. But I think that there are instances where socialism, capitalism, communism all go too far. And I'm not really sure about communism, right? But with socialism and capitalism, I think that there are also cases where socialism and capitalism make a lot of sense and they're very useful and good for people. So instead of thinking about things from the frame of mind of like, oh yeah, this is capitalism or this is socialism, so it's either good or bad or good. Try to think about, is this good on a fundamental level? It's a balance. Yeah, it's a balance. Not sure about communism? Well, yeah, no, I'm not really sure. I always wanted to read the Communist Manifesto. I did. I wanted to read it in the same way that I wanted to read, like, the Quran. Like, I hear people are critical about Islam all the time. And they say, oh, Islam tells you to do all these things. Well, they're telling me that. I never read that. They're just saying that to me. And so I want to read it. I want to know what they said. That way I actually know what's happening rather than having it be dictated to me by somebody who has an agenda. You know, this is a big deal, by the way. This is, and this is how important it is. Do you want to know who one of the main groups of people who didn't want to have printing presses and mass distribution of Bibles was? The church. Because if they're the ones that can read the Bible, they have a monopoly on God. So, think about that. And so that's why I wanted to read the Communist Manifesto. Not because I'm a big communist or anything like that, but I want to see what this guy said. Because obviously it was very effective. I mean, fuck. Killed a lot of people, right? So, like, what the fuck did he think? What actually did he say? Is there any validity in this? What's the truth of it? Then I would feel the same way about the Quran or anything else. My point is that I don't think that it is a fundamentally bad thing to want to downsize a company. It's not a fundamentally bad thing to want to run a lean operation where you are functioning at maximum efficiency. And I think that a lot of these tech companies over the last 3 years massively overhired for COVID, and on top of overhiring for COVID, massively overhired in the projection of infinite 20% growth years. That finally stopped, and now they have to mature as a company. They're not stagnating, they're maturing. The same as Meta is, the same as Twitch is, Amazon Video, because Amazon Video is another new industry whenever you really think about it. How many years has there been like movie industry, like these like streaming movie industries like Netflix and Amazon Video and stuff like that, like Peacock? All of this is very, very new. And in the process of it being so new, people are making like tremendous like decisions. They're like, okay, is this going to be a, $1 trillion market cap or a $100 million market cap or a $100 billion market cap? Like, what is the scale of this business? And they're figuring that out at the same time that everybody else is, because everybody gets to decide how big that business really is. So that's what I think. It's sad that all the people at Twitch lost their jobs, but this is the natural order of things. Now, I think that really the truth is, it will be determined whether it was a good decision or not to get rid of them in the coming years to see how Twitch evolves. You should watch Bezos' interview on Lux's podcast? Yeah, definitely. I hope you don't watch that. Quran is not the only scripture of Islam. Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita, is that the name? Sorry, I'm probably completely mispronouncing that. Is also like a supplementary text as well, right? That's Hindu? Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah. I forgot. As I said. But I know that there are other, the Hadith. Is that it? Yeah, well, either way, like, what the name is kind of irrelevant, in a way, right? I'm not trying to be rude here, but it's kind of irrelevant. Like, you can see kind of what my point is. The problem is, it seems like upper management does not seem to pay any price for misplanning their workplace demand. That's not true in this circumstance, because a lot of executives at Twitch also left. There was one executive that we worked with a lot. I remember, I guess I can say, I remember her, right? It was a woman. And she was awesome. I thought she was great. Like, I didn't know what the fuck to expect, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm going to meet this fucking person, this like executive woman at Twitch, like, what's this going to be? Bro, she was fucking cool. Like, I was like, I didn't even know what to think. I was kind of in shock. I remember I like met her at the, like a party I went to, right? It was like, not really a party, like a business mixer that I went to like last year. And I was really shocked by it. And she's gone. That's why she's out. I mean, I don't know about that, man. Yeah, I'm not sure. And so, do you think Twitch pays streamers too much money? Does Twitch pay streamers too much money? That is up to streamers to decide. And the reason why I say that is because if streamers are... What do you call it? If streamers are not being compensated fairly, and this is why I think that streamers can never be paid enough. And they can never be paid too little either. Because streaming is one of the best free markets that exists right now. Because if you don't like the money that you're getting, you can go to another platform. And you are funded almost directly by your performance as an individual and your relationship that is direct to your consumer. And what is unfair about that? Yeah, like a street musician. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I bet, I don't fucking know, Tosin Abasi from Animals as Leaders. I bet if he went out and he was, doing street performances, he'd make a lot more money than some random bum with a banjo. Or, yeah, I mean, that's it. Abasi, Animals as Leaders, so fucking good. Dude, no, this guy's absolutely fucking nuts. Yeah, he's insane. And, not really. Well, I think he probably would make more money. What I'm saying is, like, a skilled musician would make more money than somebody who's not. And that's what I think makes it fair.